off.
All
Start us off
right.
here for the blue commons.
Actually, never seen this card. Amass the components.
Oh,
Three
you
and a
didn't
blue for a
you
sorcery.
didn't play an Avacyn Restored, huh?
Luckily, no, I did not play House of Restore. Draw three cards, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. I mean, so kind of like compulsive research. Draw three, discard one, or whatever you want to call it. I mean,
hmm
short, put it on the bottom. Uh, is a good effect. 4 mana is a lot for something that doesn't affect the board, but they're with all the mana rocks in this set. Maybe you're consistently playing this on three, since there are three at common that are colorless, so you can put them
Yeah.
in any deck. Um, I think I would start this card at probably. See, this is where like my tendency towards aggression hurts me. Where I would start this card at like a C minus because
No, I think that's right. I think C minus was right. That's what I would give it, and I
yeah.
I love to dirtle.
Okay, good to know. I mean, it's a powerful effect, but
Yeah.
4 mana is a lot of mana.
You can't. I think it's. I would rank this very similarly to Pirate's Prize. Like
Sure.
it's 4 mana draw two. This is like a bit more selection, but it's at sorcery speed, and you can't play a lot of these. But if your deck wants one, you will be able to get one, and you'll be happy to play it.
Right. Well, so like the thing that makes me feel like C minus might be too low is all right. Think about the card compulsive research,
Yes.
which is I know there's a big difference between 3 and 4, but compulsive research would be a B. Right. Like that card is very very powerful, and this is a very similar effect. For just one more mana. I mean, obviously the difference between 3 and 4 is a lot. And it's going to depend, like, if the format ends up being similar to Modern Masters 3,
Mhm.
where you just, like, couldn't really draft an aggro deck ever.
Right.
And
Which I
it's
sure
just,
hope it does.
which is, like, always dirtle on dirtle,
Uh-huh.
then this card is going to end up being pretty good.
I feel like the fact. I mean, maybe I'm leveling myself here, but taking a page out of your. Let's think about the design elements. Just like the fact that it's a common makes me think
Yeah.
that that's probably not true.
Hmm.
Because if this is a powerful effect in the format, then wouldn't it be an uncommon? Because you're right, it is kind of close
No.
to compulsive research.
I mean, I
don't know.
think compulsive research would have to be an uncommon
For
for difference
sure.
in mana. But so yeah, I would give it a C minus.
I think C minus
we're-
sounds good, and we'll be interesting to check back on it in the first weeks of the format. Next up, we have Bewilder, 2 and a blue for an instant. Target creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn, and you draw a card. So a little expensive to just think about it as like, well, failsafe is a cantrip because 3 mana draw a card is not great, but
Yeah.
3 mana fog draw a card, 3 mana blow out your
Yeah.
opponent in combat draw a card. Like
I don't know.
those are possible scenarios. I don't think this is a card you need to prioritize highly, but I don't think it's a card you'll be embarrassed to put in your deck. It also like let's just keep in mind that Amasses and Bewilder are things that trigger prowess and replace themselves. That's important.
Yeah,
in blue.
you can get a 2-for-1 if you block a creature. If you have like a prowess dude and your opponent tries to like make like trade in combat,
Mhm.
you can like target the guy that's blocking your non-prowess dude, and then your prowess dude gets +1/+1, and you get to eat two creatures,
Yeah.
and draw a card. So like it can be a 3-for-1,
Yeah.
it can be a 2-for-1.
Right, you can just like put your 2/2/2s up against their 4/4, play Bewilder, get your 2-for-1. Like
Yeah,
it's not again, it's not good. I'm not like looking to prioritize it. I don't want to play multiples. It's easy to play around, especially once you've seen it.
yeah.
Like-
I'd give it a D plus, I think.
Yeah, I'd probably go C minus, but I think it's it's like what's it called, Verdant Rebirth,
Right.
which is like fine but not great. All right. Oh, nice. Claustrophobia is next. One
Card's good.
card's good. 1 blue, enchant creature. It taps the creature when it comes into play, and it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So what's oh my gosh, why can't I think of Unquenchable Thirst? It's
Yes.
Unquenchable Thirst for 1 more mana, but no deserts needed.
I mean, that 1 mana is pretty big. Also not splashable of note, and like double blue means. I mean, you don't often want to cast this on turn 3, although on the draw sometimes you're going to have to. The card's good, but removal, especially removal like this, tends to just, again, get worse in Masters sets.
This
I
is
think
bad against white decks. Like, white's going to have a lot of ways to knock this off.
with protection, too.
With
Yeah, one
protection.
of the things, like not even... Usually it's like, well, your opponent could have, like, a disenchant or something out of the board, but here it's like, they don't even... With enchantment-based removal, you don't need protection when you cast it.
Right.
You cast this on my creature, and I draw I draw a protection spell, I can just remove it. It's nice that it doesn't untap my creature, so I still won't be able to attack that turn. But I think this card's like a C plus.
I think
maybe.
it's a C plus still. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's good. It's removal. Like, yeah, you might. I think you need to perhaps have some options to take it out of your deck if it just like doesn't match up well against the deck you're playing against. Like, I think it could be really bad against some white decks, and maybe future colors that we'll see have good answers to it as well. But I think still C plus. Like, this is the removal blue gets basically. So
Yep. I'm gonna quickly run to the bathroom. I'll be back in about a minute. But feel free to keep going.
Great. Okay. I'm gonna keep going, and then you can chime in on your grades when you get back. So next up, we've got Diminish, which is 1 blue mana for an instant. Target creature has base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. These effects are pretty interesting. Like, it's one of these, like, not Pongify, but, you know, there was Turn to Frog in an M set, I think, and those cards I generally kind of like because blue doesn't get options like this and has trouble dealing with big things, but also pretty bad against smaller cards. So, and certainly it doesn't remove, like, effects. There's a lot of utility creatures in the format that it doesn't mess with, so it's not like a blowout, but I also think there's not like an insane removal spell or anything, but I also think it's just fine and serviceable. I'd probably give it a D plus and be like not happy but not very sad if I had to put one in my deck. Dissolve is up next. Interesting to see this at common. This is a rarity shift from where it was before. This is 1 blue for an instant. Counter target spell, scry 1. So how much better is this than cancel? I think scry 1 tacked onto this is significantly better. It's like a card and a half of value, basically. Like, scry 1 is close to a half a card's worth of value. I don't know. Maybe it's a quarter of a card's worth of value, but it's pretty good. It's definitely better than a 1-for-1. I don't know how many you can play in. I don't know how much a counterspell deck is going to exist in this format. It's also not good at triggering prowess when you want to. But I think Dissolve is going to be pretty good, and I would give it like a C. Maybe it's still just a C minus. I don't know if you can jam a bunch of these in your decks. I hope you can. I hope you can just like put a bunch of defenders in your deck, mill your opponent out with Doorkeeper, and keep up Dissolve. Yeah, I think I did say that at the start. That it's an uncommon, but I think I would probably give Dissolve like a C, maybe. So you've missed Diminish, and I'm finishing up Dissolve here. What are your thoughts on these cards?
All right, Diminish is the one that makes it Frog, right, or whatever it is.
It just makes it a 1/1.
Yeah, the 1/1. I tend not to like cards like Diminish too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, it usually ends up destroying a creature in combat sometimes. Yeah. So it's a fine card, but I don't think it's a card I'm excited about.
Yeah, I gave it a D plus.
Yeah, I think a D plus is where I'd end at.
Great.
Dissolve. I mean, Counterspell Scry 1 is good when it's good, so it depends on the texture of the format. But I think I mean, it's not that much better than Cancel.
But like it is better. It's like 1.25 worth of a card. Like, I don't know how much Scry 1 is worth a card, but maybe a quarter of a card, a third of a card.
Sure. I mean, it's good, but given that, like, sometimes you need, like, the thing about a scry on a counterspell is that sometimes you need the scry more than the counterspell, but you don't want to counter something that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's fine. It's probably like a C.
Yeah, C minus. Sweet. What's next?
So now we have Doorkeeper, which is
your favorite, I bet.
1 and a blue for an 0/4 defender. That's 2 and a blue tap. Target player mills X cards, where X is the number of defenders you control. And that is a win condition for a defender deck.
Oh, for sure.
3 mana in tap is a lot of mana, but I don't think you're activating this until late. So if you have a bunch of, if you have like 5 defenders, I mean, it ends the game fairly quickly.
4 toughness so far, we're only like through a color and a half. 4 toughness seems kind of relevant.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this card is it is really only playable if you have a lot of defenders, right?
Right.
And you need, not only do you need a lot, you need enough that you're going to consistently have 4 or more on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not happy about this card, I don't think, but it's a good win condition for a deck that does exist.
This is a build around card. Like,
yes.
I think it is, like, again, we will see there are certainly, mostly it feels like in the teamer realm of colors, is where the defender deck wants to be at. But there are payoffs in each of those colors for having multiple defenders, and this is certainly one of them. It's a nice win condition for a deck that is not attacking. So I think I would give this like a build around B-. Like I think it's going to be a really important tool for a defender deck that I think looks like it's supported.
Yeah, it definitely does look like it exists, and I think we'll see more of it when we finish blue and get to green.
Yeah.
And decon, there are actually, I think, like something like 15 flags in my apartment. The one behind me is the New California Republic flag, which is from a game, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ryan, what people want to know, what are you giving Doorkeeper an F?
No, it's not an F. It's not a card. So I'm not gonna end up drafting the defender deck like ever.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen because I'm not like if I get a 14th pick Vent Sentinel, okay, in pack 1, fine, I'll do it because I'm still gonna draft what I'm supposed to draft.
But you're gonna do it for the damage based defender deck, not the mill based.
Probably not. So I don't give cards an F except for like. Most of the time I would give a card an F, it ends up being a sideboard grade. I think that thinking about, I think deeming any card unplayable after a certain point hurts more than it helps. While if you're still a little shaky, it's good to have like this card as an F for the first week of the format, I guess, so you just don't see it because you need to process less information in order to get to the right pick because you don't process things as quickly. But there's assault. There is assault.
Yeah, assault formation. Get those bugs attacking.
Wait, did they bump it down to uncommon?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think so.
I mean, so if I can kill people in combat with defenders, now I'm a little more interested.
Yeah.
But still, I don't think I would draft this card.
That's fair. All right. What's next? We got Elusive Spellfist, 1 in a blue for a 1/3 human monk. Has like pseudo prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked. So
I love this card.
An effective reprint of our boy from Hour of Devastation, except it's cast a non-creature spell rather than when you cycle or discard.
Cunning Survivor is like one of my favorite cards in that set.
That is unbelievable.
By the way, I just love the card. But Elusive Spell, I mean, I really like this card.
Yeah.
This is the kind of card that makes me want to draft the Prowess deck, right? Because it says the awesome thing about this card is just how insanely well it works with Rebound, right? It just gets unblockable for 2 turns, which is pretty huge. And outside, I mean, you're gonna play non-creatures in your decks, in most of your blue decks, right? So.
Like, this and Seeker of the Way in a blue-white prowess deck is just, like, you just want as many. That feels like how many of the, like, 2/1 prowess and Firebrand archers you wanted in the blue-red spells deck in Hour of Devastation, right? Like, just, like, you jam as many of these in the 2-drop slot, you get a bunch of the spells that replace themselves, and how do you lose?
It's like blue-red and blue-white seem to be about prowess and about this tempo deck, which, and then... While blue-black and blue-green aren't, they are about big butts, kind of like you want blockers, and blue-black will have spells. So it seems like this is just going to be a solid 2-drop for almost any blue deck, and extremely good in blue-white and blue-red. So I think that puts it at about a C+ for me.
Yeah, I think so. C+, and it might even be like B- in the right kind of deck.
Yeah.
Next up is Frostlinks.
Ooh.
The old Water Trap Weaver reprint. 2 in a blue for a 2/2 elemental cat, and when it enters the battlefield, you tap a creature an opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step.
Yep, card is good.
Yeah.
Again, blue seems to be somewhat. I mean, blue is kind of split the more that you look at it. There are very, very dedicated control cards, like cards that just can't attack, and there are cards that are very good tempo cards, although it does seem that most of the tempo cards will play fine in non-aggressive decks.
Yeah. Like Water Trap Weaver plays fine in non-aggro decks.
Yeah.
It just buys you a little time. At 2/2 body, so far looks like it's going to be relevant in combat against aggro decks. I think Frostlinks is probably a solid C+.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being worse than that in the format.
Interesting.
Like if there are a bunch of decks that are just trying to play a mana rock on two and so on and so forth, like it's not necessarily going to do too much work.
So you think like the worse aggro is, the worse this card is?
Is
that kind of where you're at?
So like, if it's like this card would not have been very good in Modern Masters 3.
Right. Well, I guess because aggro wasn't a thing. You never needed to play it in a defensive deck.
Yeah. Like a lot of the aggro decks were based around tokens in that format, and there were a bunch of mana wars, which just made them really like you just couldn't play play them. And so when the games always went to like turn 15, and it's just not about incremental points of damage. It is about like
the
becoming exactly. It is about managing your resources to the point where you just have more, and then life totals don't really matter.
Yeah.
And so if this format breaks down like that, which it doesn't look like it's going to be, then this card just becomes very, very bad. I'm going to start with it at a C+, but it's important to note that I feel like I'm just going to start. I'm going to take it lower than that to start because it may not function the way that you think it does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
What's this guy?
Yeah, we got Jace's Phantasm, which it's been. I don't think it was a common last time we saw it.
No, it was uncommon.
And it's a blue for a 1/1 flyer, and it gets +4/+4 if an opponent has 10 or more cards in his or her graveyard.
Ooh, baby!
So we have a mill deck in blue-black in this format.
Yep.
Now, I'm trying to think if there's like a blue-white aggro deck. Is there a world that deck would also just play 1 mana 1/1 flyer? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But like maybe if you have enough equipment or something to augment it, you can. So it's not necessarily a blue-black gold card, but it's pretty much a blue-black gold card.
Yeah, I think
the problem I have with cards like this is when your opponent in limited has 10 or more cards in their graveyard, it means you if you have your mill cards, it may just be quicker to cards that attack kill your opponent. It's via damage, but only deal damage after you've milled a lot of your opponent's deck.
Right.
There's a tension here, and it may just not be good to dedicate a slot to this card.
It's tough to know. I mean, as we will see we'll get to cards. Like, I don't actually think, though Doorkeeper has mill text on it, that Doorkeeper is really what this deck wants, because the mill deck is kind of damage based, because I think this is a huge payoff for that deck, just to be able to have like a 1 mana 5/5 flyer. But you're going to want other cheap effects, like we'll get to Tome Scour in a little bit.
Okay.
Things that are like incidental mill is my guess. I think Doorkeeper is a different game plan altogether.
Okay.
But I'm curious to see if this deck can actually come together.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind playing Jace's Phantasm into Jace's Phantasm and just play the blue-black gold rare, mill 10, and then attack for 10 in the air. I mean, that sounds sweet.
That sounds great, right? I think it'll be interesting to see what are the uncommon and rare payoffs for this deck that are probably going to lean you more towards it. Because I think I don't think Jace's Phantasm is something you need to take highly, and I think if you're the mill deck, you're going to get them. So I don't think you need to prioritize them.
Yeah, that's true. If they're at common, and no one's fighting over it, which it's a strategy people want to draft, so people may fight over it. But you'll get 4 copies of the card if you really want it. So.
I think so. So I don't think you need to prioritize this highly, and I think it goes in a narrow enough deck that it's probably generally it's a D, but I think as a build around it's probably C+.
Yeah, I think I would say exactly the same thing. Interesting point, Gwen. It is if it's faster to kill via milling, the 5/5's a great blocker. So
yeah, that's true.
That is interesting. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Next up we got Jesse and Thief. Oh man, another rarity shift. This was at uncommon, and rightly so. 2 and a blue for a 1/3 prowess human rogue. Whenever Jesse and Thief deals combat damage to a player, draw cards. We've got a little Ophidian here with prowess.
Card's good. Card's really good.
Prowess really pushes this card over the top, because a 3 mana 1/3 with the draw card text is not very good in modern Magic. But the prowess trigger makes it very tricksy, because your opponent really wants to block it, but is scared to block it because you probably have a way to boost its power and toughness. So
Yeah.
I like this card a lot. I'm probably just giving it a C plus. It might even be a B minus.
Yeah, I think I would start with B minus. I mean, for exactly what you said, if your opponent has like a 3/2 and you just attack,
Oh,
do
they can't
do they
block ever.
can they not block? I mean, if they don't block, they're letting you draw a card anyways, right? So if you have a thing, like it creates these points where, I mean, regardless, it's just so good. I like this card a lot.
Yeah, B minus sounds good to me. What's next?
All right, we have Mana Leak. I love this card.
You sicko.
Yeah, 1 and a blue for an instant that counters a spell unless its controller pays 3. I mean, these are the counter spells you get to play unlimited that are like always so good.
Common is. I would not mind this being uncommon in this format.
I mean, I think I would be happy to first pick a Mana Leak.
Yeah.
Right, because like think about the way this card works on the play. Right, you go 2-drop, 3-drop. If you have another 2-drop and hold up Mana Leak for their turn 4 play, I mean, it's just cards that let you. I mean, we saw this in Ixalan specifically. It's a little bit more exacerbated, but you see this in Dive Down, like the way that this plays, where you just get ahead on board, or you create something that matters, and then it's so easy to leave up 1 or 2 mana that. It looks like the game's close, but you're ahead, but really the game's not even close, which makes your opponent also play in a way that like helps you win. So Mana Leak is a very, very good card. Also helps on the draw, being able to counter a 3-drop, and still scales well into the end of the game unless your opponent's playing like Thran Dynamos and stuff.
Yeah, in which case you can take them out of your deck if you want to. Like, I think the one knock against this card in what one blue strategy seems to be with prowess is that it doesn't trigger prowess when you want it to.
That is true, but I do not think that's really much of a knock for the card.
No, for sure.
It is.
I just think like in that prowess deck, you're gonna have to dedicate slots to triggering prowess, and this doesn't like. Although this is a powerful card, it doesn't. I feel like it might be at war with some cards in that deck, but it's still a high pick, still a strong common.
Completely fair. I would give this card a B minus.
I agree. Blue's looking strong so far.
Yeah. Blue tends to in Masters sets because they can do things they don't usually do. Mnemonic Wall, man, this card I would have been so happy if it was in Modern Masters 3.
Yeah.
But so it's a 4 and a blue for a defender. It's an 0/4. When it enters the battlefield, return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Well, we don't have Ghostly Flicker to go infinite with this, do we? No.
I don't think so, unless they put it at rare or something.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this card is interesting. 5 mana for an 0/4 is bad.
Bad. We just saw 2 mana for an 0/4 a little bit ago.
Like straight up bad. You know, if you have your assault formation, it's a 4/4. But 5 mana for a 4/4 is not even that great. So the effect needs to be good to put this card in your deck. And given prowess, and I don't think I'd play this in a prowess deck, but there are a lot of good spells, a lot of spells that are 2-for-1s, and so this card is going to be solid, but deck dependent, entirely deck dependent.
I hope you can run multiples of these, and maybe in the defender deck you can. But I think even in a prowess deck, this is a one-of to like rebuy a relevant spell and put a nice blocker while you're beating down is like I think it's a fine top end. I think this card is like probably just solid all around. It still might just be a C minus.
Yeah, I'm definitely. It's not. I think for me, is it a D plus or a C minus? Like, I sounded more positive on it than I really am.
Right. Yeah.
The overall body, like the effect is powerful, but the mana cost to body ratio is just too bad.
Yeah. I like C minus for Mnemonic Wall.
Sure.
Ojutai's Breath is next. It's 2 and a blue for an instant. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step, and it has Rebound. So the Rebound spells are really interesting with triggering prowess twice.
Yeah. Yep.
And this also helps get your aggro creatures beating down past their relevant blocker twice potentially.
So something to note of this card is because the creature doesn't untap during its next untap step. It actually gets rid of, like, if you cast it on your turn, it gets rid of 1 blocker, and then for the next turn it's 2 because the other creature will still be tapped. So,
or you can go end step, tap a thing. On your turn, you tap another thing, and those 2 things do not untap on your opponent's next turn. So this is really backbreaking if you're an aggro deck.
Yeah.
It's really hard to overcome this, I think.
I mean, cards. I think that you're gonna want, um, like, if you're playing this in your deck, you either need a lot of prowess creatures or just a lot of creatures.
Yeah.
To the point where like the tapping two things lets you alpha strike twice, even if you're losing guys, or the pumping your guys is relevant. I think the card is going to be very good in tempo decks, though.
Yeah, I'm. This card I think is going to make me groan a lot in this format. I think I'm going to be really sad about this card.
Well, so it's another thing like Frostlinks, though, that it's going to depend. I mean, the more that we look at it, the more that it seems that these aggressive tempo decks are going to be good.
At least in blue and white, for sure. Right. We'll have to see how the other colors combat that.
But... Okay, yeah. And I think after black, we're going to learn whether or not this is the case, because if I'm thinking about this for why aggro was not good in Modern Masters 3, it had to do with a specific archetype that could support multiple drafters that just steamrolled aggro too hard. And if black-white is the life gain deck, but if, let's say that like there are enough things that deal with life in white and enough that do it in black to the point that there can be 3 drafters at a table in a deck that has a ton of lifelink and a ton of ways to gain life, it's going to make the aggressive decks much, much worse, and it's going to make cards like this much, much worse.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's very true. I think I'm probably going to come down on just a C.
I would also give it a C. For this card. Would not be surprised if it ends up being a C+.
For sure. This is a blast from the past. Phantom Monster, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 illusion with flying.
Card's fine. I think that it's, like, again, like, just creatures that are just creatures tend to be much, much worse in Masters sets, because you can just do more things. This card is fine, but I'm not necessarily excited about it.
It doesn't seem to slot in well with the two things that blue is trying to do. Like, if you're trying to Dirtle Mill, if you're trying to aggro prowess, I don't really know where this goes.
Yeah, so I think that like this looks like a card that you would give a C or C+, but I'm actually going to give it a D.
Wow.
And that, like, I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
But so I think that Masters formats are way closer to, they behave more like a low power level cube than they behave like a normal limited set. And so cards that only do one thing and don't do it in a linearized fashion just tend not to be good. And so that's why you see 2-drops still being good, because like an abundance of them lets you linearize your strategy to be very good at attacking, where this card doesn't really do that. And I think it was actually in a Masters set, and it wasn't particularly good last time we saw it as well.
Some people in chat are saying they liked it in Eternal Masters. I did not play a lot of Eternal Masters, so I can't speak to that.
So Eternal Masters was by far my best performing format. I actually had a 94% win rate.
Stop it. Stop it. 94%?
Yeah.
What the hell? How is that even possible?
I gained over 600 tickets in the like 3 weeks that I drafted it.
Get out of here. I'm losing the Skype call. It's getting choppy. I can't hear you anymore.
It was like I think I did about 40 drafts, 30, 40 drafts.
That's
well, the reason that it happened was because they're like, people didn't draft the set that much. Okay. So because it was like $25 per draft, everybody drafted it only a couple times. And that meant that after since I 3-0'd my first 8-4s, first couple 8-4s, I had stock to just keep going. And by the time I was on my 20th draft, I just knew what was up and other people didn't. And so like in that format, like I almost strictly drafted red, white, and blue, red, because they were the decks that had the highest payoff with the most density of cards that you could do things with, and they were just so much better than everything else that you could be doing. So it was less of, and so because of that, my opinion of Phantom Monster is a little off because it didn't fit neither of those decks. Like it wasn't, I mean, couldn't play it in white, red, and it wasn't good in blue, red because blue, red was about spells.
Yeah.
Blue, white skies, maybe it was solid there. But I think that like for the reason that I didn't like it in that format is just because sure there was a blue white flyers deck, but the other decks just wanted different things. Like the decks are more like puzzles, and this card doesn't necessarily, it's not guaranteed to fit in any deck, right? It's a solid card, but I'm still gonna give it a D. I think that like it's a solid card, but I just I also approach limited from a different perspective than most people.
Mm-hmm.
I usually try and find like a distribution of archetypes that I prefer, and I draft in order to maximize the chance that I end up in them.
Mm-hmm.
And those usually in master sets are very, very, very synergistic.
Yeah. Although those are the strongest decks in master sets because they're sort of built to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, the Masters was sweet. That's the time that I almost broke 2,000 limited rating. It was a good month.
Let's hope you can do it for Iconic Masters. I'm gonna come down on C-, not so low, but I do think that this is not a card I'm looking to prioritize. I don't think.
Yeah.
Repeal is next. This is a nice little tempo play. X and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand, and you draw a card. So another card that replaces itself and triggers prowess. It's a great tempo play. Really easy to get a 2-for-1 out of this.
Yeah, this card's great.
Yeah. Is this a C+? Is this a B-?
No, I think I'm gonna stick to C+. Like bounce spells, it has the disadvantage of where the advantage of bounce spells are is when you use your like unsummoned bounce a 5-drop.
Right. So it doesn't scale that way. You don't get the tempo advantage of mana.
Right. Infinite combo with the mnemonic wall. Is there a way to make infinite mana in this set so that you can do that?
Let's keep a lookout for it. No, there isn't. Why isn't Axebane Guardian in this format? That's the 2 and a green defender that taps for mana, like at Birds of Paradise for each defender you control. That would be great. All right, next up we've got River Wheel Aerialists, 5 and a blue for a 4/5 Djinn Monk with flying and prowess. Another rarity demotion here from uncommon to common. What do you think about that?
So a 6 mana for a 4/5 flyer, like without any other text, is actually, like in most limited sets, solid. And giving it prowess, it hits hard, but I think it's just going to be, it's so expensive.
You certainly can't play more than one, and it looks like the good prowess decks are probably going to have you dead before you have time to play this.
I agree. I think it could end up being like a win condition for control decks that ended up not getting the rares they needed for win conditions.
Yes.
Right? But
that's funny. But this is probably maybe much like that 5 mana exile spell is going to be good in a deck that doesn't look
blue.
like that's not at blue or that's not prowess based. Like the text on the card sort of belies where it wants to go.
Yep.
I would probably come down on what, D+.
I'd give it a D.
Yeah. What's next here?
Oh, Shriekgeist is 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, it mills them for 2. Interesting. So what? How much do you need to mill usually to win the game? Like, usually, given the length of games, if you mill 25 cards,
you gotta probably mill if you give your opponent 10 draw steps, maybe 23 cards.
Okay, so then you really need 2 of these, probably. It is common, and you'll get them. So, and if you go Shriekgeist into Shriekgeist, but at the same point,
just destroying you with
they're
2 and 3 power creatures.
Combat.
This is a dangerous card. Again, I think you don't need to prioritize this. If the Jace's Phantasm mill deck is real, Shriekgeist is a good engine for that deck.
Yeah.
I honestly think this might be more appropriate in a Doorkeeper deck.
Wow, interesting. So you just have your defenders.
You have your defenders.
So that you don't die.
This is helping you mill, and your Doorkeepers are milling as well. I think that is more likely where this belongs.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good observation. It feels, if this is the payoff for the mill deck, I feel like the mill deck's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But I think that interestingly enough, having 2 copies in a defender deck may work well.
A defender deck where specifically Doorkeeper feels like your win condition more than Vent Sentinels,
Sure.
But it's still not good. I still think it's a D.
It's still a D.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is a nice little card. Thought Scour, 1 blue mana for an instant, target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, and you draw a card. Really,
is there any graveyard synergy? Is there anything with flashback? Anything that
any reason you would want stuff in your graveyard?
Yes.
I don't think so, but I haven't
I
scoured
also,
the set review.
If it's there, it's at rare.
Yeah.
Sure, there's mnemonic wall, but this, I don't know, cantrips. This seems. One, I think it's more of a prowess card than a mill card.
But there you go. Enchanted Stevening's got it. That you mill yourself to get Mnemonic Wall incidental value.
Yep. So this strikes me as a card that is also just not even going to be great in the prowess decks, though.
Oh, really?
Like 1 mana. So we've had prowess decks in the past, right? Where 1 mana to draw a card was fine, right? Crash. What was it called? Crash through.
Yeah.
And then there was like slip through space in Oath of the Gatewash, although that deck didn't come together all that often.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts get like, but in your prowess decks, right? Crash was fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you played a copy, but without Riddle form, the card was a lot worse, right?
Yeah, I was higher. I mean, again, you don't need to prioritize them, I don't think. But I was higher on these effects. I felt like they sort of helped fuel those decks, like just because it's cheap cantrip abilities are I think relevant when you've got a lot of things to care about non-creature spells.
No, that's true. When your creature gets +3/+0, Jasper, that is cantrips really can do some work. It's like you play like a Kiln Fiend, and then you just turn like 3. You play 2 Thought Scours and a 1-mana red card, and your opponent just dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this card has a place, but I still think I'm going to start it with a D because it's not. I don't think it's going to be that important. It'll be fine.
Agreed.
But I think there are better cantrips.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D plus. But again, I don't think I think thinking of it like Crash Through is really correct, and you don't need to prioritize that. I feel like you're happy when it wheels, and that's about where this card is at for me.
Sure.
All right, on to the uncommons in blue. We've got Etherize.
Yeah.
3 and a blue. Instant. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. I forget which set this was in.
God, I'm gonna get blown out by this card so many times.
It
I'm not
wasn't
gonna respect it.
that good.
No, I don't. Like
Before.
that's why I'm not gonna respect it. Like I don't think that this card is a card that you can play, right? But like it's once you cast it the first time, it's not too hard to play around it.
Mm-hmm.
And bouncing like let's say like if your opponent has 4 creatures that they're attacking with, sure, this card's great. But like even if they're only attacking with 2, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But a bounce spell that you can't use like offensively strikes me as the kind of card that I don't want to be playing all that much. Yeah. Maybe it's really good in the defender deck because they need to be smashing with like 6 creatures to deal damage to you.
That's so niche though, I feel like.
I'm gonna start this card on a D plus, I think.
I'm going D minus. I think this card is really, really bad. And Duncan is reminding me in chat that it was in Gate Crash originally, and Gate Crash was a hyper aggro format, and it wasn't even good in that set.
Sure.
So like,
sure.
I just don't think this is going to be a good card. But yeah, you're gonna get blown out by it twice in the format if you're playing a lot. But like, don't let that fool you into thinking it's a good card.
Enchanted Stevening going deep. Okay. All right. Okay. So Cephalid Broker is 3 and a blue for a 2/2. That says tap target player draws 2 cards, then discards 2 cards. So it's. I mean, this card is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
It almost says like 3 and a blue for like a 2/2 defender or whatever that like you can't not have action for the rest of the game.
Right.
Draw 2, discard 2 is a very powerful effect. Right, like if anyone in chat has ever played with the card Dak Faden in Cube or I think Eternal Masters, whatever it was, like you just most of the time you have Dak Faden, you don't even care to ultimate the card when you have the ultimate. You just keep plussing, right? You just keep trying to draw 2, discard 2 because you just get such an advantage from that filter effect. Now 4 mana 2/2 is really bad.
Yeah.
Of note, this can also mill your opponent out.
Yep. Thank you for pointing that out because I'm looking to slam this in my Doorkeeper deck.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I mean, I think this card's going to be very good.
I think it's really good. I think unless the format is very aggressive, which blue and white look like they're going to make it very aggressive, and you just may not have time to play a 4-mana 2/2 that can't tussle in combat.
So I actually think I disagree, because I think you're thinking about this card too much in that defender deck. If the format is aggressive, the blue prowess tempo decks are going to be very good, right?
Yes.
I think this card's good in those decks.
Talk to me about that.
So I'm not looking to play too many 4-drops in those decks.
Sure.
Right? Now, if we're playing cards like Frostlinks and things that tap, when the damage is relevant, we have all action to hand, we can still get in for 2, which is not great, but it's fine. but the like double loot,
I mean,
uh,
it's great to like find action when you're flooded in an aggro
right?
deck.
Well, like so, like the thing is, if you're playing all of these cantrips
Mm-hmm.
in your prowess decks, you're
Mm-hmm.
more likely to flood, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'm not saying it's a card that is great in those decks, but
Yeah.
it's one of the like cards that is better in a control deck that will still be okay,
Yeah.
um, if the format is aggressive, and actually is going to bump my rating because I think I'll play it in the blue tempo decks to some extent. I'm more happy to first pick it because it can go in multiple archetypes.
That's good. That's fair. You sold me on that. I agree with that. Where do you land on? Just like solid B?
B minus. It's
Yeah.
definitely not a B plus. I can be sure about that. I think I would start on a B and I would calibrate accordingly.
Great. I'm gonna go B minus. Ryan's going B. Next up, we have Condescend. X and a blue for an instant counter target spell unless its controller pays X. Scry 2.
Card is so good.
Card is really good. If you've ever played against it in Cube, it's just pretty backbreaking when you like tap out for a spell, your opponent condescends for 2 mana and then gets to scry 2 before their draw step. Feels like they got a 2 for 1.
I'd like to point out something really interesting.
Yeah.
If you, in your prowess deck, if you cast a cantrip, you can cast this in response for X equals 0 just to scry 2 before you draw a card and get a prowess trigger.
Yep.
Right?
Which
so
we'll see. We will see that in this format multiple times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Card is really solid. Probably like is it a B minus? Is it a C plus?
I think
it's probably a B minus, right?
I think. Well, so do we think it's better than Mana Leak?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think it's better than Mana Leak, so I would give it a B.
All right, I'm down with a B. B for Condescend. What's next?
Distortion Strike. I love this Magic card. It's very predictable. It's very easy to tell which cards that I would like.
Yeah.
So it's just blue. It's target creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked, and it has rebound. So I mean, like giving a creature unblockable 2 turns in a row is like you can when you have this card in your opening hand, you can sculpt a game plan to it. Right? You can know to play to, okay, I need to get my opponent to 10 because I have this 4-power creature or this 3-power prowess creature or just a Kiln Fiend, and then they're dead. Right? So there are going to be times where you like play Kiln Fiend on 2, right? And then you just know that you have 10 damage across 2 turns, at least, unblockable.
Yeah.
And that's huge. I still think the card's narrow.
It's like miserable when you're behind.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible when you're behind.
Does stone nothing.
It could give +1 toughness boost to block with a prowess creature, okay? Like it can do
it's sorcery speed.
It's sorcery, God. I need to read.
You gotta read the cards. That's important. It's an important thing to do.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. I mean, it's still great, but yeah. I think that like also isn't this card a common originally?
Is that true?
If this card is a common, I think it speaks to what how good they're expecting these prowess decks to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because if it was like I think they don't want if they don't want the prowess deck to be able to get multiple of these, that is a reason that this would be an uncommon. I'm pretty sure it was a common coming around. I'm gonna look that up. Distortion Strike was it was a common.
Wow, in what format?
What was this? Rise of the Eldrazi?
Rise. Well, I guess Rise was a crazy slow format.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So where do you come down grade wise on it?
So I mean, it only goes in. I'm expecting it only to go in blue, white, and blue, red.
Blue, red, yeah.
Right. But I think in those decks, you really are going to like. I think I would want 1 copy at least in every single deck, and I'd be like very, very happy to have it.
You may have to pick it highly as an uncommon too.
That's what I'm trying to think of is like, do I want to take this card highly in order to ensure that I have a copy of it, even before I'm in those decks because it's 50% of the blue decks? I don't think I'm going to start that way, but I very well may end that way. So I'm going to start with it at a C+.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Fog Bank is next. 1 and a blue for an 0/2 wall. Defender flying, prevent all combat damage to be dealt to and dealt by Fog Bank. Sign me up. Where do I sign?
This card's good.
This card's good. Like this card is really annoying to deal with. There are ways to remove it. There's non-damage based removal spells floating around. Huh? But this card is just good. I think you're gonna want it even in non-defender decks. It's like really good just as it scales with the game, can basically trade with most of their attackers.
Yeah. it's a good card. I think that it's probably, I don't know how highly you should take it, and I think that's going to really depend on the speed of the format. Like, if blue wants to be attacking more, this card's just not going to be good.
Yeah.
But I think that there are going to still be decks. Like, I think from looking at this format, it doesn't seem like it's going to be as hostile as Modern Masters 3 was. I mean, like, even this would have been good in Modern Masters 3, but I mean, the aggro decks don't look like they're going to be so good that the control decks are unplayable.
Right.
And as long as that's the case, this is going to be a good card. I'm going to give it a C+. You might give it a B-.
I'm going B-, yeah. But we're splitting hairs here, and we're also just, like, talking about deck preferences.
For sure. All right, so Illusory Ambusher is, wow. 4 and a blue for a 4/1 flash. Whenever it's dealt damage, draw that many cards. So this card's kind of like a Bright Reprisal that draws more than one card. But also it's a...
I have never seen this card before.
Me either. I like, and it also is kind of like a 4/1 unblockable. Interesting. It's a hard card to evaluate. I mean, I'm going to assume it's going to be very good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it will just depend on, is a 5 mana... But it feels like you don't get really punished by it being 1 toughness.
I mean, could you imagine blocking a 4/4 with this card?
Yeah, I can't wait to do that.
Just like 4 and a blue, destroy target attacking creature, draw 4 cards.
See you, Decon. Yeah, I like this card. I hope it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card's likely to be good because, like, I mean, most decks are going to have to win by attacking, and also this card attacks well, right? Unless your opponent has, like, even if they block it with, like, a 1/3, you still kill that and draw a card, right? And it's, like, it's almost a 4/1 unblockable if they just don't have 1 or 0 power creatures.
Yeah.
I'm going to start this at a B, actually.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Next up, we've got Illusory Angel, 2 and a blue for a 4/4 Angel Illusion with flying, but you cast Illusory Angel only if you've cast another spell this turn.
Mm-hmm.
This card just seems like such a house in a prowess deck that's, like, going to want to be playing cheap things, cheap cantrips, like...
So I'm going to be casting this on turn 3 after I play a Mishra's Bauble, like, at multiple times across this format.
Those are both uncommons. That's not gonna... You think it's gonna happen that often?
I'm gonna draft this for... I think that, like, Mishra's Bauble is not... Oh, actually, is that money online? If that's gonna still be a money uncommon, then it's not.
Can't be money.
Right? I mean, Mishra's Bauble is money in paper.
Yeah, but I think online uncommons are tough to be money.
Sure.
And especially with it getting reprinted here, it'll plummet.
Okay, because essentially I think that this card is...
Like, Swords to Plowshares is $1, and that's before this set gets reprinted.
Right, but Mishra's Bauble is like a modern staple that was printed once forever ago, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, that doesn't really matter. I think that, like, the prowess decks are going to want Mishra's Bauble. It's 0 mana prowess trigger.
Yeah.
And it goes really well with this. There are a lot of 1 mana spells to cast. I think this card's going to be very good.
Yeah, I would go B+.
I'm going to start B because it's going to be hard to play in every deck, but in some decks it's going to be a B+.
Right.
This was a rare Mahamati Jin, 4 blue for a 5/6 flyer. I mean, the card's solid. It's 1 mana more than Air Elemental for +1/+2, which is certainly worth it, but 6 mana is a lot. I think that, like, if you're playing this in your deck, you're going to want some of those mana rocks, because 6 mana is a lot. I think I would give this a C+, B-.
Like, how much worse than River Wheel Aerialist or whatever? River Wheel Aerialist is this? Or how much better is this?
I think it's substantially better.
Substantially better?
So my reason being is that, like, so that one is a 5/6 flyer when you cast a spell. And so your 6-drop is going to end up being the last card out of your hand some percentage of the time, and also being able to block flyers seems like it'll be relevant. And I think that makes it like, I don't think and also the, like, 5/6 toughness without anything. But when you make that comparison, it makes me not like the card as much. That's for sure.
I think again, I think if like a control deck exists, this is a fine finisher for that deck. but I don't. It doesn't look. Maybe it like goes in a doorkeeper deck or something, but it doesn't look like blue has time for these 6-mana creatures that are trying to win with damage.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
This card could vary from D to B.
Yeah,
this,
I
right?
totally agree.
So why not start with a C? I guess maybe C plus. I think I'd have it as C plus, but
all right, I'm gonna go C. You'll go C plus.
Sure.
Skywise Teachings is next. This is again another reprint from the cons block. 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay 1 and a blue. If you do, create a 2/2 blue Djinn monk creature token with flying. Drakehaven's back.
Yeah.
You're not into it?
No.
Yeah.
I think I have this card at a build around D.
Yeah, I think I agree. Why is this card not as sweet as we want it to be, or as I want it to be? You probably don't give a crap.
Yeah. I mean, like, I like these kinds of cards, but I think 4 mana for a card that does not impact the board, that like you can only like maybe there's like a 0 creature deck that like has time. Like if you're playing this on turn 3 off of a mana rock, and then have 5 mana on turn 4 to be able to cast a spell and like make a 2/2, that's good. But like, how good is that? That's like fine. I think that just like the ceiling of this card isn't as high as it looks, and the floor is abysmal.
Yeah, it just doesn't do enough. Like the prowess decks want to be aggressive, and I don't think you can really take this and be like, well, I'll build a controlling prowess deck. That's not what you want to be doing.
No.
So
I don't believe so either.
What'd you say? Build around D?
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. What's this last uncommon
We got
here?
Windfall, which is 2 and a blue. Each player discards his or her hand and then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Huh. Okay, so
this seems pretty strong to me. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's only strong if you have less cards than your opponent, right?
Right.
So I mean, you can obviously play with that in mind, but like play to that state.
This gives you 1 less card in your hand once you cast it. So like, it doesn't seem that hard to craft at least a deck where this card is going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a hard card to evaluate. I mean, the card Wheel of Fortune is usually very good. I mean, it's like almost always very good, but that's because you can like try and get your hand empty. Problem is you try and get your hand empty, so does their opponent. Because the less cards, if you want to think about it this way, the less cards that you have in your hand, if your opponent has a bunch of cards in hand and you have none, and this is like early stage in the game, the reason is you're actually probably winning just because you've cast more spells this game.
Yeah.
And so, like under those circumstances, I mean, this card is good, but your opponent is incentivized to also be emptying their hand. I think the card's good.
I think this feels kind of similar to me ish as Distortion Strike. Like I'm thinking about this as like a blue-white or blue-red card, basically. Like putting it in an aggro deck, hoping it's like one of the last things I cast.
Yeah.
It triggers prowess. It replaces itself in a way. I think it's good, and I'd probably start it at like a C+.
I think that's fair. I think I'm honestly, I don't think I can really give this a grade until I play with it in the format.
Yeah, really tough to grade these kinds of effects in a new format. Not a bad milk card either. That's true. That's good. All right, we got some rares to check out here. Oh, baby. Now there's some money. Cryptic Command. Old fave, 1 triple blue. Choose 2. Counter target spell. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. Tap all creatures your opponents control and draw a card.
Yeah.
Card is very good. I mean,
card's very good, but triple blue is hard.
Mana cost is very prohibitive.
Yeah. So I think that like if this card, if you can always cast this card, I think it's an A minus.
A minus probably.
So bumping it down to probably a B. Yeah. Maybe even worse, because I mean triple blue is hard. Especially on a reactive spell.
It's tough because like you're never passing this because it's going to be worth like a pack of value. Like it's hard to like if you're trying to draft this set like sustainably, you probably have to take this whenever you see it. Well,
so keep in mind there are phantom drafts, right?
That's true. That's
going to be the most popular way to draft this format is probably phantom drafts because it's 10 ticks instead of 25. Yeah. So I think that like
Is that your
Yes.
preferred way to draft these
No.
sets?
No.
Yeah, me.
So I like drafting for things. It depends. Occasionally, if I feel like if I don't get to put in the initial reps, usually I'll draft Phantom if I'm only going to draft once or twice. But I tend to not draft the Phantom. In fact, adding the Phantom drafts just made everybody better at these formats. Like one of the big advantages used to be everyone would draft only a couple times. So if you could get a lot of drafts, you had an edge. And with Phantom drafts, that's less of the case.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Quick detour, but wanted to get your thoughts on that because I know some people prefer the Phantom ones because they don't like getting the weird mixed signals because people are rare drafting or money drafting when they have to.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a reasonable thing to, you get less rewarded for ending up in your colors because you don't get past mana drain.
Right.
But I think that I like the other ones better.
I do too. Probably partially the degenerate gambler in me who's just like, come on, Tarmogoyf, baby.
Yeah.
I think Cryptic Command at a B, maybe B minus seems right.
I think I'd start at a B. It's a really, really powerful card.
What is this next card?
I've never seen this card. Okay, well, it enters it's 4 triple blue for Day of Dragons, which is an enchantment. Enters the battlefield, exile all creatures you control, then create that many 5/5 dragon token flying creatures.
What?
Then when it leaves, you have to sacrifice all dragons and return the. There has to be an infinite combo with this card, right?
In limited, or just
there
like
was
period.
Last Masters set, right? Wasn't or what? No, Eternal Masters. There was the Animate Dead on like a card similar to this, which was like when it enters the battlefield, exile all permanents.
Oh, that's a dragon, right?
It's a dragon, and then it exiles the Animate Dead, and then Animate Dead just comes again and it re-enters, and so you just get infinite loops, infinite mana plus infinite ETB triggers. So this card essentially, it says when it leaves the battlefield, it's probably not going to go in. Like, sacrifice all dragons. So like when it leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all dragons, return it all, and there's not going to be a way to go infinite with this, but.
This is
good.
What
a weird card.
This is a good card.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good card. It's 7 mana. It's triple blue, and I mean, wasn't there this uncommon, this mythic rare that was like 4 red, destroy target creatures you control, and then make that many 4 flyers? How good was that card?
I think that card was very good, but the thing. Yeah, I guess I was thinking that this gives them haste. It doesn't. So they still like exile the creatures, then you get the 5/5s.
Right. Yeah. Not giving haste. I mean, is good because if it gave haste, it would just read 4 blue, win the game. I
still think this is a really strong card. I mean, obviously it does nothing if like you don't have a board presence, but like most things are doing nothing if you don't have a board presence.
Yeah. I think this card is good. It's hard to understand how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
I mean, making a bunch of 5/5 flyers is good.
Yep.
And then, I mean, if you can, it says whenever it leaves the battlefield. So if you play this and then disenchant, you get all your dudes back.
Right. So you don't get blown out, but you have to sacrifice all your dragons when you do that.
Sure.
So that's not great.
I mean, it could.
I think this card is good.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm not gonna draft this card to start. Because, I mean, blue tends not to be a color that has that many other creatures.
Right.
Right? So, like, how often is this card going to be better than, like, something that, like, really impacts the board for 7 mana?
I don't know.
I mean, it does impact the board. I mean, I don't think this card's bad. I would start it on a B minus, a B, but I think you sound higher on that.
No, but B was exactly what I was going to give it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it just appeals to my sensibilities more than it appeals to yours. Flusterstorm is next. This is a single blue for an instant, counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1, and it has Storm. This is not good.
No, it's not good. I mean, maybe you board it in against Storm cards, but
sure.
I mean, it's also, yeah. I mean, it's sideboard D.
Yep. All right. What's next?
Kaiga, the Tide Star, is a 5 and a blue for a 5/5 flyer. When it dies, gain control of target creature. This card's great.
Card's great.
Right?
Probably
6 mana, great threat. When they kill it, you get their best threat. So, like, A minus.
I think it's A minus sounds right to me. It might just be an A.
Okay.
Sphinx of Uthun is next. 5 blue for a 5/6 Sphinx with flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you cast Fact or Fiction. You reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Your opponent separates them into 2 piles. You get 1 in your hand and 1 into your graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, another one of these is just like A minus probably because 7 mana, but
7
the card's really good. And maybe augmenting ratings due to expensive cost is like not the right way to approach this format because of the like. You could play this on 5 if you play the 3 mana 2/2 that taps for 2 mana. That's an uncommon, right?
Right.
So, and I mean, like that's going to be insane. So maybe we shouldn't be saying, okay, well, limited, so 6 drop or 7 drop is worse. Maybe and if we're not doing that, then this is an A.
I think it's just an A.
So,
and
yeah,
and the like card selection and card draw gets better and better. Like it's way better in cube than it is in a regular format, and this is going to be closer to cube than not, so like your card quality that you're revealing off these 5 cards is going to be really high. Like
card's very good.
It's really strong. Last we've got Teferi, Mage of Zalfir, 2 triple blue for a 3/4 legendary creature, human wizard. It has flash. Creatures you own that aren't on the battlefield have flash, and your opponent can only cast spells anytime they could cast a sorcery.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this card just in general.
Really?
Yeah, it's there's I do have my Dirtle side.
You like the control stuff. You like counter spells.
I mean, I like cheap counter spells. I'm not the kind of person that like wants to win the game with 8 cards in my hand. So I like having to like, you know, sort of grind it out, but with a smaller amount of resources. Mm-hmm. And cards like Teferi kind of do that, you know, where it's not inherent card advantage, but it manipulates the game to a state in which you're winning.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I like this card. I don't think it's like a bomb.
Yeah.
But I think that it lets you draft in a certain way, and it is a very powerful card. So I'd give it like a B+.
Yeah, the triple blue scares me a little bit. I might be a little lower on it. I'm just going to go straight B, but sure. It is definitely a powerful card if you can cast it.
All right.
Mythics.
The first Mythic is an easy A+. I don't think we need to even talk about it.
We do not need to talk about this. Consecrated Sphinx, 4 blue, 4/6 flyer. Whenever your opponent draws a card, you may draw 2. It's an insane bomb. Like, it's a first pick in any cube. So having it here in a non-cube format is just busted.
Yep. So now we have Jin-Gitaxias Core Augur, which is 8 blue, so 10 mana for a 5/4 flash at the beginning of your end step. Draw 7 cards. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. Okay. So, what? I mean, this card wins you the game, but it's 10 mana.
Is there Reanimate in this format?
I don't believe so.
This is just unplayable.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not an F, but it's like really hard. I would not be surprised in the like I don't know how many if I'm gonna jam like 80 of these. Like I don't know if I'll ever cast this card.
Huh. I mean, so we have Thran Dynamo. We have a couple other things that produce 2. When we get to green, we'll see the ramping green. Like, there may be a ramp strategy where this card gets played. Maybe there's a reanimation spell. I don't remember seeing one, but there could be.
Chance Evening says, Sheldred reanimates. Yeah, that's true. Get all the Praetors.
That is true.
All the mythic Praetors.
I'm not going to draft this card, though.
Me either.
Unless I somehow end up in a deck where I think I'll want it in, like, pack 3, I'll take it. So I would have this as a build around... Like, I mean, it's a build around A because when you can do the thing, you win.
But don't you die? Like, aren't you going to mill yourself out real fast?
It's
not a May. You're drawing 7 cards.
Yeah, you're just dead.
You're just dead. Like, this card is...
Yeah, no. Yeah. This card's just... I mean...
Like, let's just go build around D-. You don't want to give things an F, we'll go build around D-.
Yeah, sure.
Mana Drain is next. This card is sweet. Blue for an instant. It's Spell Swindle, but correct. Blue for an instant. Counter target spell, just get it done. And then at the beginning of your next main phase, you add an amount of colorless, or that's generic mana to your mana pool, equal to that spell's converted mana cost.
This card's insane.
This card is insane.
Yeah.
B plus.
I might even go to A-.
Might go to A-.
Probably B. It's going to depend on the texture of your deck, right? It's worse in, like, decks that don't have bigger spells to cast. But you can, like, counter their 3-drop and then play Sphinx Vuthun on turn 4.
Yep, that's gross. All right, it's an A-. Never mind. The card is insane. All right, let's we got to move quickly.
Yeah. Let's spend less time on the.
We're power through on the cards that we know.
Yeah.
Okay. First up in black, we have Balaged Scorpion. 3 and a black. For a 2/3 Scorpion, when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature with power 1 or less. This
your defender deck. Get
Oh
wrecked.
no, my defenders! I didn't even think about that. Oh no! I was like, there's not a lot of 1 power creatures, but there are a lot of 0 power creatures. Oh wait, maybe this card is good.
Yeah, I mean, this card is. I don't know if I'm supposed to start it or not. It's going to take a while. My guess is no.
Oh, my guess is yes. All the prowess creatures are small too.
But they're 2 power, right?
Not Jesse and Thief. Not your 1/3 unblockable.
You know, this is the kind of card that I can't give a grade until I, like... Do they have, like, math things so we can, like, see that the average power and toughness of the set?
I think not quickly.
I wrote some scripts to do analytics, but I don't think the MTG JSON has updated for this set yet.
Gotcha.
So I can't run those right now. I guess... Okay, if it's either getting a sideboard grade or if you're expecting to main deck this card, then this card's good, right?
Yeah.
But like it's not insane. It's probably like a B- if you're expecting to main it.
Yeah, I think right, because it's terrible if you're not hitting something when it comes into play, but if you are, it's great.
Like at least Sand Strangler was a 4-mana 3/3, which was like not the worst if you had to play it,
right?
And it could kill things that mattered, right? More.
Right. Excuse me, my doorkeeper matters, sir.
All defenders' lives matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh goodness. Oh shoot. All right. Well, we'll spill over. We'll cut the recording. I started the recording too soon. I didn't stop it for blue, but we'll cut the recording and then after we grade this. All right. Let's go B-. I'm gonna go
Sure.
B-. I'm gonna say that this is main deckable. All right. We'll stop now.